Welcome to the Dig In Travel Podcast, where travel and other digital professionals level up their marketing skills by listening to the top industry experts. And now, here's your host, Istok Franco, founder of digintravel.com, your number one resource for travel, digital, e-commerce, and marketing.
Hi, this is Istok, and you're listening to episode 30 of the Dig In Travel Podcast. Today, I'm going to be short with this intro because I'm very excited about the chat with Alberto Terol Conthe. Alberto is a head of customer experience design and development at Iberia, and before joining Iberia, Alberto worked for multinational giant 3M and as a consultant for Accenture and Deloitte. Now, why I'm excited about this chat and why do I think you really like it? Because we talked about marketing and innovation and how they are connected. Peter Drucker, one of the fathers of modern business, once said, "Because the purpose of business is to create a customer, the business enterprise has two and only two basic functions: marketing and innovation. Marketing and innovation produce results, all the rest are costs." It's a great quote, but Alberto went even further in our chat and broke this down into a framework. You can find the framework visually in our article. Link to the article is in the show notes of this podcast. A lot of airlines are in a tough spot at the moment, and we'll need to ask ourselves one question that is part of Alberto's framework. Are we doing the right things? So listen to this chat with Alberto because he shared so many useful insights about innovation and marketing. One more thing, we introduced a new hire, train and fire section at the end of this podcast, and we had a lot of fun with it. Alberto had to choose between different concepts and ideas, so listen to the end to find out what ideas he likes the most and what ideas he really doesn't like. Now, let's jump into my chat with Alberto. Hi Alberto, and welcome to the Dig In Trail podcast.
Thanks so much, Istok. It's a big pleasure.
Thank you for joining. I'm really excited about today's chat, even more so because I'm really happy to get another windsurfer on the podcast. And we'll talk a lot about innovation and digital marketing today. But before we do, I wanted to ask you a little bit about your experience as a windsurfer. Because why I'm asking it, personally, I like it because in windsurfing, you cannot skip steps. It's a step-by-step learning experience. And in digital and marketing or analytics or, digital optimization, I see we would often like to get from step 1 to step 5 immediately. For example, we do basic Google Analytics or analytics, then jump straight to machine learning, data science, and predictive analytics. How do you see your windsurfing or sailing learning experience?
Yeah, so I love the metaphor indeed, and I use it very frequently, sailing, because I think it very much it has very much to do with innovation and with marketing. So I started very little. I think it was with 12 years old. So I was trying to pull a sail 5 meters and a half. It was from my father, and I would jump into my father's boat. And at some point, I decided, okay, let's go. I will give it a try. And I've been windsurfing for a long time. Funny enough, I stopped when I got kids, but this summer it was the first time that I dared to introduce them into windsurfing. Now they are even younger than the age I was when I started. They are 10 and 8, and they loved it. And I think it tells you, it teaches you many things, not just windsurfing, but sailing in general, like being patient enough, observing the wind. Where is it coming? Is it getting stronger or lighter? If I want to go there, what's maybe not the shortest, but the most effective way to go there, and all these zigzags that you do when sailing. The shortest path is very often the wrong one, no? And
yeah, I like this one. Yeah, zigzagging, because you cannot go directly into the wind. You need to zigzag to get to the end point. And like I said initially, in business, I think, and innovation especially, I think we would like to go straight line to the goal, to the finish line, right?
Yeah, and something I like very much about sailing, which is quite counterintuitive, is that the more you go against the wind, eventually, the fastest you can go. No? So like aircrafts a little bit, no? That they take off against the wind so for a reason, no? And it's the same effect. I mean, just an industrial engineer, not an aeronautic engineer, but I tend to think that it's the effect is somehow similar. So I think in these times we are a little bit going against the wind, but eventually it could be for a very good reason.
Great metaphor, like you said. Besides windsurfing, the main reason why I wanted to talk to you for quite some time now is one of your posts on LinkedIn. It was called "The Marketing Hero" that really intrigued me. It was a while ago, but I think it's still extremely relevant. And
Mm.
you start the post with one of my favorite quotes by Peter Drucker, that business has only two basic functions: marketing and innovation.
Yeah.
Why do I have the feeling that in most companies, and especially airlines, marketing departments are far from innovation?
So I always have thought that they are all together. I'm a marketeer. I started as a marketeer in 3M. Well, previously I was working in Accenture in consultancy as well. But I would say my main school, business school, was marketing, and then moving into innovation. I think they're very close fields. I tend to think marketing is about value. It's about understanding customer needs, this part of the discovery, the research, and understanding what are the pains and the gains in the customer. And innovation is more about creation. Bringing some new ways of doing things and new processes and new technology. So if you put them all together, no value creation, marketing, and innovation, they go so well together. It's turning an idea um, based on some customer pain or gain into a solution and execute it and provide value from a customer perspective. So they go together. And I think the skills from good marketeers and good innovative people are quite similar. No, they are around curiosity, so questioning everything, bringing the what and the how and the when and the why to every conversation. I think we have to be modest, acknowledge that there are many things that we don't know, and spend quite a lot of time on research and embrace the what I call the unknowns, no things that we
Yeah.
don't know that we don't know, and we discovered it on the way talking to our customers. Then I think we need some modeling capabilities, so connecting the dots and see the big picture. And I think a fundamental element as well of marketing and innovation is the execution. So I have had a lot of discussions with service designers and people from innovation. Not like we created this beautiful PPT and now it's a matter of the execution team to execute. And my point is that unless a product or a service is crafted but then deployed into the market and it's being consumed by customer, there is no success at all. It's just an idea.
We'll come to the execution part soon enough, but I'm still not completely, let's say, satisfied with your answer, because I think what you say, it's true. And I think yeah, marketing and innovation should be tied together. And it's about creating the value and, like you said, solving customer problems by creating new innovative products or services. But what I see most companies, especially the big one, is that marketing is still mostly about advertising, or in digital marketing case, it's mostly about taking care of the website, doing e-commerce, and doing digital advertising. Why do you
Yeah.
think this happens? That we have, I don't know, some separate other innovation department that is somewhere else.
Well, I think marketing is very wide. So my background is product marketing. So I think you mentioned all the branding
Mhm.
and channel management and stuff, and that's part of marketing. But maybe what I would compare more between marketing and innovation is product management. No,
Okay.
and there I think it's very close to each other. So I think, for example, another example I would bring to you is that I think innovation teams in companies, in large companies, sometimes they are located into the HR
Mhm.
people area, no, because of all the change management needed and all the transformational efforts and so on. I think sometimes, very frequently, and I think nowadays even more frequently, they belong to the IT and technical organization because it's very much leveraging on technology. But the examples that I have seen as more successful normally are those in which these companies put the innovation function, the initial innovation function, because I think it has to embrace the whole organization. But let's say the team mobilizing innovation from the very beginning sits very close to the business. And therefore, again, I see the link between marketing, which for me is value creation and value delivery, which is basically business, very much related to innovation. I'm not sure if this answer is better than
It is better. I think you put a good disclaimer that in, let's say, successful companies or in companies that are really innovative, this is close to the business. So you're talking about, I don't know, even in airline cases, about digital product or even in-flight product. So how you put this together, and it needs to be, it needs to have all elements of marketing.
Yeah.
So better. Going back to what you said before, and this is what I liked from your article, and I will share it with our audience after the podcast in the show notes and in the article, is this distinction that you had for marketing two key areas. And one is about what you mentioned is about execution, and you call it doing things right. But the other part is more about forward thinking, about strategic foresight, about business modeling, and this is doing the right things. Can you tell me a little bit, or maybe elaborate a little bit about it, on this distinction between doing the right things and doing things right?
So no, absolutely. So that's a sentence that we used very much in our service design team. I think both steps are needed. It reminds me a little bit to the double diamond in service design.
Mhm.
First the divergence and then the convergence, and so I think these two elements, designing things right, for me it belongs more to marketing. It's discovering what is the underlying customer need, what's the pain, what's the customer the job to be done, and so on.
Mhm.
So it's designing the right thing. In fact, in 3M we had a heuristic that we use very frequently in this design the right thing, which was the real win worth. So every time we wanted to address if an opportunity was worth it for 3M, we would first envision if it was real, if there was a market, if there was a customer pain or need to be addressed. Is this opportunity real? The second one was, can we win? Do we have the capabilities in our company to achieve a successful business out of this opportunity? And the third one would be worth. Is it worth it, or it would be so costly, or I would have to hire the talent that I don't have, or so on. So, okay, there's opportunity. We could potentially win it, but it's not worth it, or it would not support our strategy, or whatever. So for me, that's the design the right thing, deciding what are you going to design, and what's out of a scope as well, which is also very important.
Yeah.
And then we moved into the to design things right, and there is more the world of service design, of designing a product and service that matches those needs that you have discovered in the design, the right thing. It has much more to do with UX, UI, with
Mhm.
choosing the right platform for delivering that product or service, choosing the right partners. It's more the delivery part of the value. You can have you can be very strong in value creation, but you can be very poor in value delivering. And again, execution becomes fundamental in this second part. So we always, as service designers, try to keep both areas balanced, designing the right things, choosing the right fights to fight, but then deciding something that was worth it for the customer and appealing.
A recent consumer survey we conducted over summer showed that the top 3 friction points in digital customer journeys when booking travels are difficult to navigate websites or apps, lack of price transparency, and technical glitches. Travelers are coming back. Are you ready to give them a standout experience? one that boosts revenue and loyalty? Glassbox helps you deliver frictionless digital journeys across web and mobile apps. Turn more traffic into bookings, more travelers into repeat customers. Visit glassbox.com to see a demo today.
Yeah, to me, this is really interesting. Maybe my background, my experience, also our research is more from the other parts of doing the right things in terms of, let's say, how to be agile, how to do growth marketing, how to do digital optimization, conversion optimization. But what I see is, for example, when we teach about digital optimization, if you do it right, so if you do really these agile loops of analyzing customer needs, measuring data, being structured in analytics, then trying to find solutions and designing digital products to address these needs, it's basically you're moving up to the doing the right thing. So these things I think are connected. I don't
Yeah.
know how you see this in practice. Is it more this bottom-up approach, or is it top-down? So, or is it mixed?
Well, I think it's on top of that, it's iterative. So you could
Okay.
eventually start defining an arena that you want to fight for. So that's design the right thing. Then you moved into design things right, and then you discover that it's impossible to deliver value in that field, and then you may decide to reassess if you are fighting for the right opportunity, or you could move into an adjacent opportunity or so on. So I think it's an iterative process, and moreover, I think when you launch a product afterwards, and this is something that we very often forget as service designers, we forget about the product when it's being delivered, no? And I think especially in those first weeks and months and even years after the launch, they are in hypercare, or they should be
Mhm.
in hypercare, and we should be reconsidering every time, every week, following the KPIs, the metrics, and improving the product, no? Because very often we launch products. 3M is has massive amount of examples of products that were very unsuccessful for the purpose they were designed, but they were very successful for some other markets, some other industries, and so on.
Still, maybe on this point, why I was talking about more this bottom-up approach, let's say from optimization, from doing the things right, digital optimization, because I think in digital marketing and in this digital optimization, for example, things like experimentation, A/B testing, doing small iterative MVPs, it's much more natural, or it's much easier to do. So this is why I see this concept being applied more often. While on total business, let's say even airline business, it's more difficult to experiment with the core product, let's say,
Yeah.
or with an in-flight experience. What is your experience of trying to applying some of these principles of, let's say, experimentation, being agile to the overall business model and overall products, not just the digital side?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think I had once a boss that always came with the question, but are you 100% sure that this product will be successful? And I said, come on, I'm not. But this is Pareto principle. I'm pretty sure that's the case. I would say I'm 80% confident that it's the right product for the right market segment. But let's launch and let's learn also on the go, and let's adjust and adapt. So I'm very fond of experimentation and agile launching of new products. Otherwise, it's a paralysis by analysis. And I think the other element that, because you started with A/B testing and improving and these incremental improvements, I think the reason why I was mentioning that designing the right things is so important is that because very often I see also this, especially in these days, the obsession with efficiency. So this has to be, no, we have to deliver efficiency gains, and my point is that there's nothing so useless as doing something very efficient, which is not usable at all, or that we shouldn't have done at all. We can be executing something beautifully, it's very efficient, but there is no customer need, or there's not market to be addressed. So I think therefore we need to keep balance on both aspects. but experimentation, rapid prototyping, and so on. In fact, we had a discussion early this week about prototyping. I think we were discussing about research, and we want a customer research in which we would envision what customers want for a specific product segment. And my point was that customers would never come with the solution. That's the job of the product owner, of the marketeer. Eventually, by prototyping and showing them some mock-ups, we can show them, okay, this is the size and the color and the shape that this would have. Is it in the? Are we working on the right direction, or is this something that doesn't resonate with you at all? And I think all this rapid experimentation makes perfect sense with any product launch.
Yeah, and I think when we talk about, for example, experimentation, and this is, I think, is the same in innovation, is you can also do something that you mentioned in your model, let's say exploration type of experiments and more this optimization type of exploitation experiments. So, and it's never one or the other. I think you need to mix both. Once to be to achieve the operational excellence, so of doing the things right, like you said, but also try to step out and do exploration, try to innovate and try to think find if can we do something completely different or completely in a different way, because this is where usually the big gains happen. So
Absolutely, and also because I think we always do this research, but customers are very bad at telling you what they want. Sometimes they lie, sometimes they don't know, or sometimes they think they want something which is not what they want. So I'm very fan of this sentence that marketers say that don't tell me what your key purchasing drivers are. So just show me your ticket and I will figure out, no, by
yeah,
analyzing what you bought. No, so I like very cheap products, and then you see the ticket and he bought something very
yeah,
expensive, and so I think this experimentation is great because you generate data and you can analyze that data being generated by the product in operation. I think products have to speak, both digital and physical products. We have to make them as product designers. We have to make them uh, deliver data to analyze and optimize after in the post-launch phase.
my colleague and friend Stefan Tonke, who is teaching about experimentation and innovation at Harvard Business School, he said in one of our chats for our digital academy, he called this what you talked about, the focus group, uh,
Effect.
challenge. He
Yeah,
said, yeah, usually when you ask people what they would like to eat, even if like they would say the salad, but then when they really order, they choose the cheeseburger, you know.
yeah,
So
exactly.
this is the thing. Okay, maybe if we sum up this about innovation and let's say design thinking, what are maybe some of your key learnings? Because you work, I think, in this field for quite some time. What do you think are the biggest learnings that you think, or what was the biggest things that you thought that are one way but
Yeah,
ended up completely different?
yeah. So I think I thought that innovation was more about skills, and I think over the years I'm discovering that it's far more about attitude. So and that's the approach when I've been hiring marketeers in 3M or now service designers, is bringing people with curiosity, with this sense of observation, with customer obsession. And when I say customer obsession, is spending a lot of hours with customers, interacting with them. So not focus groups, which is a control environment, but observing customers, dealing with our products and services. I also thought at the beginning that okay, maybe you need a lot of money to invest in, and for example, a good example is 3M, no, with all this R&D approach. You know that in 3M they spend something like 5 to 6% in R&D compared to total sales, which is not very much if you compare to some other, for example, all the tech companies, and 5% that's nothing, but they do it very efficient. So instead of investing in product development. They invest in what they call technology platforms development. So which allows, so for example, abrasives or adhesives or micro replication or you name it, and therefore they invest in these capabilities that afterwards you can cross in kind of matrix approach to different markets. So you discover a product or you discover a technological platform that together with another one, so for example, a film and an adhesive, that all together is the right product for protecting a train at 300 kilometers per hour in Saudi Arabia, for example. No, with all the sand from the desert, it destroys the front side of the train, and then you have built a product together with the customer. It was not originally a product, it didn't exist. There were two technological platforms, and you combine them all together and you created a solution. So I think budget very often. I think if you play with a big budget, you don't have so many restrictions, and sometimes it can be it's counterintuitive, but it can be against innovation. I would say another totally different topic, which is so relevant for progressing with innovation in a company is how managers get measured. So, okay, maybe in the vision statement in a company, it says that we would like to be the most innovative. Okay, let's go into the KPIs that managers are using. Are they being measured by the business as usual or by exploring the next big thing? No, and very often that tells you the culture of innovation, which is happening in a company. And I mentioned culture. So I think, for example, something I loved about the American approach to innovation, and I think I experienced that in 3M, but I've been talking with friends from HP, Salesforce. I think in the American corporates, there's emotional safety within the teams for putting some time for exploring and trying to discover things out of business as usual. So the famous rule of the 15%, and there are many different mechanisms for making the teams work on something which is enriching the total knowledge within the company, and they can openly share their findings, and the mistakes are allowed, and so on. So that cultural aspect is fundamental as well.
Do you think is this cultural aspect and what you said before, not skills but attitude, is why a lot of big airlines, and I see this in the airline sector, uh, work with this startup accelerator, startup hubs, trying to get some of these different kind of culture and different kinds of attitude to help them with innovation.
Absolutely. I think in airlines we have an issue, which is that it's an industry which is risk averse. And that's great if you are a customer, if you are flying in an aircraft and you know that. So the no the American sentence: if it's not broken, don't fix it. If something has been working for 2 decades, don't touch that physical element of the aircraft. No? And this attitude is great in terms of safety and security, but in terms of business, it could be hindering innovation. So I think a mechanism, I would say not just airlines, but I've been observing all across the world in many different industries, is bringing these startups in which very often they bring skills that do not exist within the company, or they have the speed to market that we can't afford because we are a bigger animal or so on. But I think the fundamental element of bringing these startups into our organizations is the cultural cross pollination, I call it, no, between the employees from the corporate and people from the startup. And I would say in both directions. Sometimes we tend to think that the startup world is great, and they can learn a lot from the corporate as well. No? So I think it's very enriching for both parties.
I agree, and I think, like you said, a good point about being risk averse. And this, I think, is why I see some companies, some airlines. I think Eurowings Digital is one example where they created a completely new company, Eurowings Digital, to to build it from scratch on these different kinds, less risk averse, more uh, innovative, more, let's say, mentality and attitude towards exploration and experimentation and innovation.
Yeah.
Um, okay, now at the end, because you give me a lot of food for thought about trying not to do just doing the things right, but trying to do the right things. And I think this is the 30th episode of our podcast. We'll try something new. So we'll do, let's say, a rapid fire section, which I called promote, train, or fire. So I give you three things, and you can promote one, the one that you like most. Like with employees, you promote. The second one that you like second best, you say, okay, I will train it, so it will become better. And the last one that you don't like, you fire. Okay?
I'm not sure I have understood the full mechanics. So,
Okay, we'll try on the first simple example.
okay, you mean related to my personal
No,
experience?
no.
Okay, let's see,
Okay, so
let's
I
see.
give you an example. Okay, this is innovation on live, on podcast.
Yeah,
So when you're traveling, flying, hopefully more and more in the future,
yeah.
and you have aisle, middle, and window seat. So which one do you promote? So which one do you like the most? Which is the second best? So you train, and which one would you fire? So which one would you say, okay, I don't want that one?
Okay, so I think it's obvious that the one in the middle downgrade.
So you fire the middle seat.
The
Okay.
middle seat. I fire the middle seat. I think the window is my favorite place.
So
Observing,
promote. Okay.
I would promote, and then aisle. It's somewhere in the middle.
Okay. Okay. Good. So you see, it's not that difficult.
Yeah.
Um, okay. Now let's talk about new technologies. So I see that you are interested in a lot of the new technologies, obviously, because you work in innovation. So promote, train, or fire the three things: biometrics, virtual reality, and voice assistants.
Okay. So I think voice assistants I would promote definitely.
Okay. So you think they are the best of these three?
Yeah.
Okay. Good.
Well, and I will explain why. I think that
Okay.
the best user interface is the one that it doesn't exist. So
Okay.
I tend to see voice as an interface that is very natural. You feel interacting with it like if it wouldn't exist. I think biometrics would be the second one because I
Okay.
think it's a very good improvement in streamlining processes, but it's more invasive, let's say.
Mhm.
And then the third one you mentioned, which one was it?
Virtual reality.
And virtual reality, I love the real world, I have to say.
So you fired the virtual
Acquired.
reality.
Yeah.
Good, good. Okay. Next one, we talked about, let's say, digital optimization activities, innovation activities. So let's say you want to try or rank these three activities. So promote, train, or fire.
Yeah.
A/B testing, focus groups, and then a team building gateway. Let's say which one of the three.
Okay. So focus groups, I would fire them.
Okay.
I've been using focus groups very frequently. I just think that there are now better ways of managing research. So that's
Great.
the reason. But they have been very useful for a big number of years. I would say the getaway with the colleagues, it would be in the middle because
Okay.
I don't expect to have getaways.
Mhm.
I expect to have very frequent contact and very honest and open
Okay.
contact with my team every single day. And A/B testing, I would promote. I think would be the most relevant.
Good, good. Now the last one, and this is not that much related to, let's say, digital technologies or digital optimization or innovation. It's about learning, yeah? So let's say when we talk about learning, you have these three options. So you have a book, a podcast, or a YouTube video.
Wow, this is difficult. This is difficult.
No, I mean it's
Uh,
sometimes it depends on the case, but let's say in
Yeah,
general.
yeah. I mean, I think podcast would be in the middle because
Okay,
I still I recognize the value out of it, but I still haven't embraced podcasting to the great extent that I was expecting to embrace it. Videos are very practical, but I mean, I would if I have to choose between videos and books, I think the kind of learning of sound learning that you get by reading a book and marking the elements out of it which are more interesting, and also normally the atmosphere in which you consume books versus the atmosphere in which you consume videos. I would promote the books and remove the videos. But this was the toughest one, I would say, this last one.
Good, good. Tough under the aisle, middle, and the window seat.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Thanks. Maybe to sum it up, the chat, when we talk about learning, is there something that you are really curious or that you read about that was something that really made a mark on you recently? Any books or articles or podcasts or even the YouTube videos?
I think so. For example, something that now I'm very interested in and I want to further explore is the non-code approach to software delivery. I'm not a developer, but as a designer, as a marketeer, and as a designer, it resonates very much with me, being able eventually to prototype things very fast and very cost effective with non-code. So I'm seriously considering attending a non-code course this year. I have to find time, which is a big issue. But I would say that from the more business standpoint, and then from the more personal standpoint, I'm learning for the very first time ever piano.
Oh, great.
Because it helped me. So I bought a piano while we were locked down, and it helped me very much to relax myself. No, I think when you do something manual with your hands,
Yeah.
it makes your brain focus on it, and then everything else, all the issues fade away.
I know what we'll do on our next podcast, Alberto. So be ready. Be ready.
I
No.
won't be Mozart soon. I won't. I won't.
No, but I love the no code that you mentioned, because what I observed in marketing and in e-commerce was the transition from code to low code. Yeah, so a lot of digital marketer platforms became like low code, so you could do a lot of stuff. Like you have SES platforms for digital marketing, for A/B testing, for analytics that can be set up with low code. And I think the no code is the next step. So if you're able, like you said, a marketer that works in innovation, that can put stuff together like a prototype and test it, I think then it really helps what we talked about initially, being working on innovation and not being so, not necessarily that all this stuff, the complex tech stuff, lies in IT or in development, right?
Absolutely, fully agree.
Thank you, Alberto. This was great. I hope the promote, train, and fire section wasn't too difficult. I enjoyed your insights. And as I said to our audience, I will share some of the concepts that we talked about and the graphics in our podcast show notes and in the article, because I think they are really great when you think about innovation. And I hope that we repeat this sometimes in the future. Yeah.
It was lovely. If I would have to rate with an NPS, it would be 10 for sure. So I would recommend it to the next participant in the podcast. I had a lot of fun and beautiful and interesting debate. So thanks so much for having me. Thanks a
Thank
lot.
you. Thank you for adding the NPS to our podcast. So this is the next thing that I will ask my next guest, because nobody will dare to do the really low ratings on the on the record. So
Yeah.
good idea. Thanks, Alberto.
Thanks a lot.
A recent consumer survey we conducted over summer showed that the top 3 friction points in digital customer journeys when booking travels are difficult to navigate websites or apps, lack of price transparency, and technical glitches. Travelers are coming back. Are you ready to give them a standout experience? One that boosts revenue and loyalty? Glassbox helps you deliver frictionless digital journeys across web and mobile apps. Turn more traffic into bookings, more travelers into repeat customers. Visit glassbox.com to see a demo today.